Sweet. Hey everyone, Rip City Real Talk is back. Craig Moshka, Anthony Blaylock, ready to recap an awesome week in Blazers land, right? What's
Yeah,
our motto? 500 or better? Well, we went undefeated this week. So awesome. Awesome to go 3-0, especially after the week we had last week. It was not great. So a
mm,
good turnaround for us. That puts us seventh in the West at 9-8. One game above 500. So far, so good on the early season, at least
yep,
record wise.
absolutely. It was dope, and there was a lot of things that happened this week that were potentially transformative for the Blazers season. So we'll go into some of those deeply, both I think schematically and rotation wise. So we got a lot to cover here, man.
Yeah, we do, and we're gonna kick it off real quick by reminding everyone.
Mhm.
Same thing as last week. So if you're new to the videos, we are giving away tickets to the Boston Celtics game on December 4th. They are 300 level. Sorry, not made of money, but they're two free tickets for you. All you have to do is comment on this video and or the video before this with your favorite Trailblazers moment to get a chance to win. That's it. I'm gonna pick the winner next week, and then it's just a matter of transferring the tickets through Ticketmaster. Pretty legit. We'll get your email. We'll figure that out. But yes, obviously subscribe, share the word, please, and go ahead and comment on the video. Get a chance to win some free Blazers tickets. Won't be the last giveaway we do. So that's that. I'm going to start with that real quick, and then we jump right into Toronto, huh?
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm gonna share a screen here and take a look at it. So, I mean, what did we expect for this week? What did you think was gonna happen?
I thought we were going to get walloped by the Bulls. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
find out about Vucevic until just before that he had COVID, so he wasn't out there.
Yeah.
Philly wasn't sure. They beat us last time with
Mm-hmm.
less guys out on the floor. So that was a good one. We'll get into. And I don't know. Toronto's kind of a weird team right now. They're still in I feel like a transition period as they figure out some of their younger pieces. So for us, this was a good win. I mean, obviously they were 7-8, so they're 500 right around there, just like us over in the East. And it's always fun in this one because we got to see good old Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr.'s return to Moda, and I was at this game, so that was another little perk
Yeah.
for sure.
That was an amazing game to be at. I mean, there was a really good energy in that building for the first time. It felt like maybe all
In a
year.
while.
I mean, it was crazy. It was loud. The crowd got going. Dame was only coming off of one game rest, and he looked a lot better in stretches than he has all season in this game for me.
Yeah, he's
It was
he's
crazy.
been great. He's this is probably. I mean, him and CJ both looked good in this one. I mean,
Hmm.
they combined for 53 points. So that's the first time I think all year that we've really seen both of them just erupt at the same time. A lot of what we've been used to, honestly, the last couple of years with Dame and CJ being top three in the league and backcourt combined points. I was trying to say combination at the same time. So that was a big deal for me right there. And then
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, all good things for Dame. It seems this whole week he seemed to really turn a corner and has been playing his best basketball of the season.
Wow, we got outshot from three in this game. They beat us by 1%. They did shoot a few less threes than we did, but they actually shot a higher percentage and we still won the game.
And they're one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the entire league. Coming into us,
Uh,
I know it was only a 5-point victory, and we were actually pretty fortunate, all things considered, because this is a small team who doesn't shoot very
yes.
well. At least they haven't shot very well this season. I mean, we all know what Gary Trent can do.
Yeah.
You know, Siakam and OJ, but OG, I don't
OG.
OG. I don't know why I was going to say OJ. I think CJ was in my mind.
Hmm.
But they obviously are okay shooters, and we know what
Yeah,
Van
Van
Fleet
Vliet.
can do. The dude's borderline all star in the East. So for
Yeah.
us, that was a big deal to really come out on top, considering one of the worst teams shot as hot as they did from three against us.
Yeah. So a few things just from this game rotationally. So you're looking at Covington only playing 23 minutes and Nurkic only
Yeah,
playing 18. This game right here was the first time, in my opinion, Larry Nance looked like he could be a difference maker for this team. Now you were there at the game. I mean, I think that this was the Larry game. So
Larry. Ah, it
so
was so cool. It
Give
was.
us give us what you thought of that and what you thought of Nurkic not being in that kind of closing lineup because Larry was just more effective.
I don't even know if it was necessarily that Larry is more effective
Hmm.
per se. I mean, when I look at the box scores, Nurkic, he had 14 rebounds. He only put up
Yeah.
4 shots and played 18 minutes, but this is very matchup based. I mean, they were playing Siakam at center.
Mm-hmm.
So to be fair, with the way that they were shooting on the outside, I mean, obviously they were 45. plus%. You
Mm-hmm.
can't really have Nurk out there for very long because they weren't going to the paint. I mean, they weren't trying to score down low. They were able to, but they weren't trying to. This was a perimeter-based game, and Nurkic's just too big to be dealing with a guy the size of Siakam. So I think Nance gave you more athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
He gave you, I mean, the ability to defend outside and down low, which was a big deal in this one. And he made a ton of plays, especially late game. I mean, he had a block shot. He had a couple defensive just deflections and some
Mm-hmm.
steals that all were just pivotal. And in the moments that he got to play when he came out of that game, hearing the crowd chant for him, I don't know. It was cool. I mean, we've been talking about the bench this year quite a bit and how we expected Anthony to step up. We were hoping Little was going to step up, but I think everybody kind of agreed that Nance was obviously the big addition, and he
Mm-hmm.
really hasn't been overwhelming
Mm-hmm.
so far this season. He's been good, but he hasn't blown anybody's socks off. And this is probably
Yeah.
the first game, in my opinion, that he really came out and showed what we envisioned him being when
Yeah.
we went out and got him.
I think so. The reason I think that part of the reason Larry has had a hard time fitting in is what he does is a lot of defensive movement. I mean, he's out there running guys down. He's trying to make hustle plays. The other thing is he's running a lot of pick and roll stuff, and he wasn't very comfortable with the guards running pick and roll, especially with Dame early on. So I think you're starting to see just time and chemistry and continuity starts to take over a little bit for Larry. I agree with you. It was very matchup based because when you're looking at a front court of Scotty Barnes and OG and Siakam at the 5, that's not really a lineup that Yusuf Nurkic is going to. I mean, he can exploit it obviously, and he can be a big body, but it wasn't really working to score. He was doing a fantastic job rebounding, but it's like we got to match up, and it's nice that we have a small ball center in Larry Nance. And it translated to the Bulls game too. But also, I just thought he looked more formidable on defense. I mean, Larry was contesting shots at the rim. He was obviously running guys out to the perimeter and
Yeah.
switching. His switching was a lot better than Nurkic's has been this year. So I don't think that it's necessarily like, oh yeah, this is a game changer for the Blazers for the rest of the season. But in matchup based situations, I think it is.
Always showed that. And
Yeah.
we'll talk about it in the next game as well. But he definitely came out, and his athleticism doesn't translate as much to the offensive end of it. I mean, he still was
Mm-mm.
able to come out and get 15 points. I mean, that's
Yeah.
fine. He went 7-7, including 1-1 from 3. So he was absolutely perfect out there.
Mhm.
And that was one of the big stories. It was not just him, but the entire team. We shot 50% from the field against a pretty athletic team, a little small, not a lot of paint protection, but a team that is athletic
Athletic for
enough with
sure.
Scotty Barnes and those guys when they're coming out here. I mean, they're
Yes.
they're athletic. Everybody except for Van Fleet. He's just a quick little guard.
Yeah.
But they match up relatively well against us, and for us to go out there and shoot 50%, I mean, I don't think I've been to 2 games before this, and I don't think once I can say that I've seen the energy that I saw in this particular game. It was a close game. You came down to the end of the game again, and the crowd was just pumped. They were into it the entire time.
Help being at home.
Yeah, it helped us being at home all year. I mean,
I,
the road to home margin
buddy,
is rough, eh?
it's
It
been
hasn't been
brutal.
good.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think there was some home cooking this week with the crowd. I mean, there were some very important, crucial third quarters where things could have gone really terribly for the Blazers, and we kind of were back on the upswing. And a lot of that was the crowd. I mean, you were there for the Bulls game too. The Bulls
Mhm.
game was very similar to where it was a powder
Felt
keg
like
in
a
that
playoff
arena.
game.
It felt like a playoff game. Even watching on TV, it was tense. It was tight.
Yep, absolutely. So Gary Trent,
Yeah.
he was part of the trade that got us Pal. So this is going to be a thing. Every time we play Toronto, I feel like going forward,
It's
this is always going to
annoying,
be
bro. It's
this is going to
annoying.
be the thing. So he did outdo Pal. He had 18 to
Yeah.
Pal's 12. Probably looked a little bit
Okay.
better. And he did the one thing that I didn't think Gary Trent was going to be doing well, which is actually driving to the rim and hitting a lot of mid-range jumpers. He
Mm-hmm.
actually did all right from 3, but
Yeah.
he didn't beat Powell in the 2-point game, or I'm
Mhm.
sorry, the 3-point game, which I kind of
Yeah.
expected him to do. What do
I
you think
think
on that, man? You excited to see him back here? Do you still feel good about that trade?
I do. I mean, here's the thing, right? Norm attacks the rim and does things gravitationally. We've talked about it a lot. He's also just a much better defender right now at this point in his career. But the thing about Gary is, and he even alluded to this after he was traded, he's never going to get the offensive workload for him to develop his game against A plus NBA players. I mean, yeah, he can come in against second units and he can do things like that. But in Toronto, he has a chance to be the legitimate two guard to Van Vliet, and he has a chance to play next to OG, and he just kind of fits all their pieces age wise. He was never going to get that run with the Blazers.
Right.
So I understand. Like, I like Gary, but I understand why you trade for Norm, because he's just better at both ends of the floor right now for the Blazers. And Gary was, I just don't see where he was ever going to be a key point of this offense or defense.
No, absolutely not. I don't think he would have started like Powell. I think he
No,
would have continued to be a backup bench guard.
absolutely not.
You paid about the same amount of money and you ended up with the starter. And they're starting him right now, granted,
Yep.
at the 2, which is great for him. We weren't going to do that here.
Right.
So just something to watch throughout the year. I mean, every time we play
Yeah.
Toronto going forward, I feel like the Gary Trent, Norman
It's
Powell
going to get old.
is going to be there. It might, but it's.
Can we just like be happy for this guy? Like, we drafted him, we liked him, he was a good dude, and he's a could be a very good player in like 2 more years, and he fits very well with Toronto's system. But it's like, can we just be happy for him and not be like sour grapes that we don't have him anymore? Like, we can
No,
just,
I'd rather have Powell. I don't think
me
anybody else
too.
on our team can draw free throws like Powell, so I'm all
Me
for it.
too. Yep.
So there we go. 118 to
Cool.
113. Took care of Toronto. Larry. The cheers were
Mhm.
there. And he carried it over. He carried it over to the Bulls, and so did the team's success. A 112 to 107 victory. Another 5-point victory. Been a
Yeah.
trend.
Yep.
This one was big to me because Chicago was a team who was one of the top teams in the East coming in up and
Yeah.
down this ridiculous lineup. But there's so much talent, and they were without Vucevic, so he didn't play. He had COVID. He wasn't out there,
Mhm.
which is honestly a big deal because there's depth at the center position, as I learned, is not great. This is
Nope.
one where Nurkic got to absolutely just feast. So he had 18
Mhm.
points, 12 rebounds, all game, the
He was
entire
huge.
game.
Yep.
I was sitting there thinking to myself that we need to continue to attack the paint. When Nance is out there and Nurk was out there, I felt like there were so many opportunities where they should have looked low
Mhm.
and just got it to him with nobody down there to be able to defend, and they didn't do it as much as I would have liked. So
Mhm.
we talk about adjustments. I thought this game could have been put away a long time ago. I think we took shots that we shouldn't have been taking, which kind of let them get back into the game. Well, I
Mhm.
shouldn't say let them get back into the game because we actually came back down from 20.
Yeah, but I
But
know
when I
what you
take it back in the game, and we got up a couple times where it probably wouldn't have been a 5-point game if we could have slowed things down and really utilized the bigs a little bit better. But I digress. It was still one of my favorite wins of the year, arguably. I
yes.
don't think there's been a win that I've liked more than this one, just because of the effort and the energy of the crowd and the fact that this felt the most like a playoff game to me, especially against a team as
Mhm.
hot as Chicago.
Yeah. And again, we're sort of breaking the formula here, but they outshot us from 3. So that to me means that we are making adjustments, right? And that's something that Chauncey talked about is I think he wants this, and what I think he said in the offseason is, I don't want us to shoot 53s a game. I think he meant like, I want us to be able to counterpunch and not just come out here and do whatever we want to do every night. I think we need to be able to roll with the punches, be flexible, and change our offense and not just rely on outside shooting. And so it was nice to see the defense ramped up a lot in the third quarter. The fourth quarter of this game, Larry Nance was on fire at points. I thought the passing was really crisp. Dame had 10 assists in this game. So, I mean, there was nothing wrong with Nurkic in this game. And I know Nance played fantastically, but there's no
No.
reason that Nurkic's 18 points were not absolutely crucial to this win.
And the biggest thing with Nurk in this one is he had 5 fouls, and they brought him
Yeah.
back into the fourth quarter, and he played just absolutely beautiful. I mean, he
Yep.
played how I really would like to see him play all year. And again, he didn't have a lot of defense on him because they didn't have a lot of size that's going to be able to stop him.
But you
But to
exploit
come
that.
in with 5 fouls and to not foul out against a team that was playing a lot smaller than you, hats off. I mean, this is
Yeah.
the Nurk that
It's
we
good.
need to see. We've talked about his consistency quite a bit, how he tends to disappear.
Mhm.
Um, he didn't really show up in Toronto. He only had the 4 points, and he didn't get a lot of attempts. But this game, he absolutely stepped up and looked good. I mean, all over the place. Some
Yeah.
crucial blocks. He had, I mean, the assist from CJ in the very end of that game, in the final couple series.
Yes.
He just cut to the rim, looked wide open. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I need to see more of out of him, and that
Quick,
was great.
decisive. Yeah, CJ's passing was really good at times this week. He hit Nance on a lob, which was dope. He hit Nurkic low when he was open. The other thing that I liked a lot of in this game, so DeMar was absolutely on fire in the first half. He made every shot he took. It was absolutely, he looked like he was going to go supernova for a little bit. And then Nasir played him and took on a role that I don't think I've seen Nasir take on very much. I mean, he was kind of a guard stopper last year a little bit, but I mean, Nasir played him tough. And then he came up with a very crucial stop on
Yeah.
DeMar with like 30 seconds left in the game that actually sealed this game. I know that it was a 5-point victory, but it actually was like a one possession game down the stretch for the last minute. The other thing that I like to see is, dude, we finally pulled out a couple close wins, right? And I know they were at home and I know they were home cooking, but like I was so sick of either losing by 15 or winning by 15 and having no real semblance of what this team is. And both of these games that we showed some character.
Yeah, Little impressed me the most. He's my main note and takeaway from this particular
Yeah.
game is. So you're absolutely right. He had that huge stop on DeRozan at the end, but a couple series before that, a little earlier in the fourth quarter, he got that foul called on him trying to guard DeRozan. It looked like it was going to be a tough matchup, and I was concerned that he was out there for a minute. I watched him; he went up, and DeRozan kind of swung his arms, and he got caught hitting them, and went to the free throw line. And I'm like, this is what I was worried about with Little. Like, okay, can he come out here and play man defense and his one-on-ones, and can he use his athleticism and his size to be able to get some of these big stops against the other team's wings?
Yep.
He let me down there, and then he turned around and completely redeemed himself in that final couple series.
Yeah.
And that's the growth that we're seeing in him. That's the trust that we're seeing Chauncey give him.
Mm-hmm.
I think this game, and I really do think that we have seen the end of Rocco. I mean, I know that he's not going anywhere anytime soon. We have to wait to the trade deadline most likely, but with an expiring contract and the way he's been playing compared to the way that Little has been playing, and Little's getting these closing minutes now. He's out there with the starters at the end of games. Rocco's kind of disappearing. This game to me showed me what Little's going to be able to do compared to what Rocco's going to be able to do. And we're going to touch on that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Focus on Rocco a bit in the second half of this, but this game to me was Little's coming out party. He's been playing all right all year, but this was the one that showed me like, hey, he can go out there and stop a guy one-on-one, and he's putting up points. He's not crushing it by any means, but he's been able to shoot really well, and he's attacking the rim. It's probably one of the best rim attackers we've had all season out of anybody. I mean, Norm's been great, and especially in transition, but he's doing what I expected to see more out of Derrick Jones Jr. last year. This is the stuff that we've been talking about, is having that athletic guy who can cut to the rim and attack and go up and just slam a dunk down or draw a foul. And that to me is where he's replaced Rocco. And this game showed a lot of that. So he absolutely crushed it. And speaking of crushing it, have you seen a worse stat line by CJ, at least in the first half, as you saw in that Chicago game?
No, I mean, it was 0 points and he just was struggling. And then some of his, even in the second half, I mean, CJ would take the ball. He would go at two longer, stronger defenders. Obviously, he doesn't draw very many fouls. He'd throw up some weird shot, act like he should have got fouled. It was, I don't know, man. CJ's been killing me this week, and like there wasn't. I mean, he did some stuff that was really important, right? And in the fourth quarter and then late in the game, he came up with some possessions that were huge, and he hit some huge threes too. But CJ looked completely lost and off. If what he's giving you offensively is not like at least 20 to 25 a night, what he minuses from you defensively is so horrendous, dude. I mean, like watching him is painful, and I don't really have the answer to that right now. But no, I've never seen CJ look as bad as he did in the first half of that game. And in the second half, he wasn't particularly great, but he did come up with 3 or 4 really close.
All right. Quick little bit of trivia for you. In the first half, what was the only stat that CJ
had? Maybe an assist. Maybe.
Wrong. A foul. He had 0 points, 0 assists, 0 rebounds, 0 steals, 0 blocks.
I knew he shot like 0 for 4 or something and had 0 points. I mean, the thing is, he just doesn't draw fouls, dude. So, like, when he's not sinking really difficult shots, which is what he does, is a tough shot maker, and then he hits wide open threes all the time. But can be really rough. And it was tough against the Bulls. And Caruso's kind of a pain in the butt, so I totally get it. And he almost had a triple-double.
He did almost have a triple-double. Good for
Crazy.
him. The guy is one of my favorite players. I don't know why I like Caruso so much. He just looks like the
Scrappy.
kind of guy you find in the gym who just his
Yeah.
headbands on and he's just in there and like you don't expect this guy to come in. He's like, I got a winner. And he comes in there and
Yeah.
just absolutely balls. You're like, who is
Lights
this guy?
up.
And then he disappears in the locker room, like just gone like a ghost. You're just like, wow,
Yeah.
that was that guy.
Yeah, he was good.
But I agree, man. And we talked about CJ last week, averaging about 14 points, and it's killer. I mean, we had such a bad week last week because you're absolutely right. If he's not scoring, A, it's hard to get that from anybody else right now, especially with Anthony not being great. And B, he just doesn't do enough of anything else. He's not coming out and getting 7 to 10 assists a game. He's not rebounding by any means. He doesn't get steals.
He's horrible defensively.
He did have a really nasty block, but that was
that's true.
But that's about it. And so it was great to see him in the Toronto win come out and look really good. He was in that slump all week last week. In this game, it was disappointing in the first half. I couldn't believe it. He had one foul and that was it. Like to play as much minutes as he had and to be our second best player to come out like that was terrible. But I digress because we still won the game. And like you said, he had a lot of possessions there, including that assist to Nurk. That was that really made up the difference. We were down by 20, and we were down by 20 because he did absolutely nothing in the first half, and we clawed back because he had a much better second half, especially with his decision making. So, interesting to see. I just don't think I've ever seen CJ have a worst half. I'm sure there's a stat somewhere that exists that I could have dug around, but
I don't think so.
A big old fat goose egg for CJ McCollum.
I thought we were done for too. I thought we were done for. I mean, he and Dame I think Dame had like 4 points at halftime or something. I thought we were going to get shredded in the second half. It was going to be one of those go to bed early nights. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was sitting there and I went to the game with our good friend Mike, and I was telling him at like halftime, like, all right, man, we can go. Like I wasn't gonna leave, but I was just like, this is terrible. Let me just go get some beers and watch the game from, one of the little bars in the Moda and call it good. But I'm glad we stayed because that was easily one of my favorite comebacks and just games in general throughout the year. So good to see that we can fight. And then we move on to Philly. This game was kind of just a weird, slow game. I don't know how else to really explain it. We won 118 to 111, but it was just slow. Like we were up by 18. Everything was kind of looking like it was going our way. They really don't have any star power. Embiid was out. Simmons still isn't playing. I mean, Harris has been an all-star, and he obviously got 28 points, and he looked amazing all game. Another guy that I kind of wish we'd trade for and put at small forward just for a scoring punch. Not a great defensive guy, but he got his. But it still felt like I don't know. It just felt like one of those games that it should have been over a lot sooner than it ended up being. And hats off to Philly because they kept fighting. Maxey, if I remember right, had 28 points as well. And dude, the circus shots that this dude was hitting, I mean, absolutely ridiculous. Did you see the shot where he went and he got fouled? He like turned and I don't know how he did. He like underhanded the ball. You can't really see me on camera.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, I did see
that.
Yeah,
he like underhands it up off the freaking backboard and it goes in. I'm like, this guy is something different.
Yeah, he's been good.
He's been ridiculously good. And, they have such good defenders. I mean, Embiid typically is, out there, and Simmons is obviously known for his defense, but Thibault is another one of those guys that's one of the top defensive players in the league. And he gives us fits, and he was slowing down Dame and CJ for the most part throughout that game. He would bog us down just enough for him to chip away, get 4 points. We get 2. They get 6 points, we get 2, and they finally chip away at that lead, and it was a lot closer than it really should have been. But some of their guys that have been playing really good didn't step up. Curry really didn't look great.
No.
I think he went like 3 of 10 or something from 3. He shot pretty bad, which is not something he normally does, and he had good looks. I mean, nobody else on their team really stepped up outside of Maxey and Harris. They just didn't get a lot from anybody to really pull away. And it's a team like that. They don't have anybody without Embiid there. They don't have anybody that can come in and really just take over a game and continue to carry him to a victory. They have guys that can score, but nobody that really blows your socks off. So,
oh man, how about Dame for 39? How does that feel?
Oh, he's back. I mean, he's been back for the last week and a half, quite frankly. I mean, we talked about how he had to miss the game with the ab injury, but even before that, a couple games, he looked like he's getting his shot back. He still hasn't hit that one, in my opinion, that one Dame 3 to be like, ooh, there's Logo Lillard. But it's doing it consistently enough. He feels confident when he steps back. He's got some more swagger in his shot right now.
Mhm.
And the big thing I noticed in this one, which I kind of feel like hasn't been, I don't know if it hasn't been allowed to do just based on the plays and the offense are trying to run, but
Mhm.
I saw signs of the old Dame where he's coming up, deciding when he's going to attack, blowing past a guard and
Mm.
driving to the rim. He got more free throws and he had a lot more just paint points. Like I've seen him
Yeah,
attack more than he recently have, and it seems like that translated to him having
it
the
does.
threes
Yep.
because now teams are have to play him a certain way. Where the offense so far this year has really been, him passing off to somebody, and his assist numbers have been up. But I don't think teams have really been frightened by Dame blowing past them. They figured out what we're going to do offensively, and the ball movement's there to the point where Dame isn't usually attacking right off the dribble. He's coming up and
Yeah.
they're making a pass or setting a screen or whatever.
Mhm. I
And
agree with
to
that.
me, I think this is the first game I've seen him all year really come up and play like I've seen him play the last couple of years and attack offensively the same way he has a lot
Yeah.
of the ISO game. And we've obviously saw the result with the 39 points in the season high.
It was beautiful, and yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think he was turning the corner with more explosion this whole week, and you're right. It does translate to him getting more room on screens. It translates to him having a little more room to operate on the perimeter because people have to respect that explosiveness around the corner. The other thing I think that was really big, I mean, Nurkic has a beautiful 11 and 11. He finally, I feel like this week Nurkic played within his role, right? He played 23 to 24 minutes in every single game. He was really effective in every single game for not playing 37 minutes. I mean, CJ plays 37 minutes, and there's like 31 of those that he's ineffective on the court. You know what I mean? Like, if Nurkic can
Mhm.
exploit those 25 minutes a game, let's keep doing that. Let's keep playing Nance in closing minutes. But if Nurkic can be effective in the third quarter minutes he plays, we won't fall behind in these games. So there was a few things that you could glean from this win. I'm nervous about the road trips. I mean, this homestand, man, it's beautiful. I love winning at home, but we got to show some fight on the road.
Agreed. And it's like I said, it's great to see us getting these wins. Last time they almost gave up a triple double to Drummond, and this week he had 6, 4, and 3.
Oh my
That
god.
alone, I mean, just the way that they were able to adjust and contain him, play him a lot better than they did before, speaks volumes as to
Yes.
what some of the adjustments that we can do as far as the coaching goes and what they've been able to
Yep.
see and taking away certain things. I mean, yeah, you got beat by a couple guys, but what beat you last time, you did your best to take away this time. And they obviously played a little different because, Harris, but still, it was cool to see us kind of make some changes compared to that last loss that we had against them and alter the game to a better script for us. Um, there's a stat that stood out to me in this one. I'm curious if you can call it out and see what it is. I'll give you a couple seconds.
Okay.
I talked about the game being slow, and I think this contributed to it quite a bit. But this was a crazy stat and a great stat for Portland, and speaks volumes what I've been talking about this entire recap for this game.
Okay.
Let me see if you can catch it right off the bat. I'll give you a hint. It's a team stat.
Um, boy, I don't know what you'd be looking at there. How many shots they got up, field goals?
No, 100% from free throw.
Oh god.
23 of
Yeah.
23.
I saw
23
that.
free throws and nailed every single one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, in these close games like this, that's huge, right? And
It is.
it's a testament to Dame going and driving a little bit more. I know that
Yep.
everybody that was able to get contact hit their free throws, and that's crazy against a defensive team with guys like Thibault. I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to bog them down. You got to get those fouls and make them pay. And 23 free throws, and you hit
Yeah.
all of them. That's the difference in this game, in my
Mhm.
opinion, right here. I mean, outside of Dame having his season best, this was probably the biggest reason that we pulled away in this one. So, just
Yep.
a fun stat. Good week. Completely just rocked it. Went 3-0 at home.
Mhm.
We'll get into what we're going to play against next week here pretty quick as we go into the Thanksgiving week. But either way, I'm digging the recaps here. I think we've had a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Yeah. It
We're
was
going to get
fun.
into that a little bit more here pretty quickly in the second half as we go over some of the things we noticed in the week. But before we do that, are you ready for? I'm going to give you a second chance. Last week, I think you scared away some people with your terrible attempt to lead off into this segment here. So I'm going to give you one more chance
Okay.
to announce the segment, everybody's favorite segment.
Okay.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, your favorite segment of the week. It is the Blazing New Trails Trailblazer of the
No,
Week.
I'm done with you, man. That's it. You ruined it. It's too
See?
many trailblazings over here.
That
It's
was
the
close though.
Blazing New Trails X Blazer of the Week.
Oh
I don't know
man.
why you keep throwing so much
2.
trailblazing in there.
I always go 3.
You-
Trifecta.
yes. And so this week I have a pretty cool announcement. Not really an
Mm.
announcement, but the player is Nolan Smith. lot of people probably don't remember old Nolan Smith when he was here. He was a first-round pick from Portland back in, yep, you got it, 2011. Came in as one of the better three-point shooters in Duke history. That's kind of why we went and got him. he was Gary Trent before Gary Trent was cool. And, yeah, I didn't play with us very long. He obviously was a kind of a backup guard for us. We gave him some run. He didn't really last, and he moved on. This is actually one of the trades that we gave up the rights, I believe, for Fareed. Kenneth Fareed was involved in this. But he is now officially an assistant coach for Duke. Got signed as an assistant coach in this year, 2021. He's been a special assistant coach for them since 2016. So he's been doing a lot of college coaching. But yeah, he gets to officially be an assistant coach for Duke this year, where he played, which is super cool for him. Dude came out being considered one of the smarter guards in that draft class. Well, another reason we moved up to get him is they figured he was one of the brains at point guard that had a three-point shot when he was coming into the league and was going to kind of side in there with before Dame, back when Andre Miller was there. And didn't really pan out for him, obviously, in Portland. But hats off to him. Congrats. I wish him the best in Duke. Don't really care for Duke. It's like Alabama to me, and just certain teams in college sports I just don't want to see do good anymore. But that's where he's at now.
Yeah, Nolan was interesting. I thought he was going to be really good for the Blazers, and I just thought he was going to translate well to the NBA. I'm surprised he didn't because he's so smart, but that happens sometimes with these guards. So good on him. He's probably a great assistant coach for them.
I mean, yeah, can't go wrong with an alumni who was a point guard and one of the better shooters in your school's history.
Yeah.
Cool. And that moves us on to our weekly stuff. I'm going to give you a chance to start off with this. Any trends or anything you want to talk about with what we've seen this week? We've already recapped the games, but everything as a whole, man, shoot.
Okay, so two things. So we're probably going to talk about Nance versus Nurk soon, but I think one of the things this week was defensively we were able to counterpunch a lot more this week. We held all of our opponents under 120 points, which is something that the Blazers don't do very often. We typically boat race our opponents, not actually put the clamps on them defensively. I thought holding the opponents to under 120, and I mean the Bulls are a really good offensive team. They have everything you'd want to take advantage of the Blazers, and the Blazers kind of showed up in the second half and figured it out. Same thing with the Sixers. I mean, yes, they were without Embiid. Yes, Ben Simmons isn't playing, but they're still, I mean, Harris can be a matchup nightmare, and Maxey was kind of getting hot. Seth Curry, they obviously made him uncomfortable. So I think that you have to look at the Blazers and say, holding your opponents under 120 is pretty respectable.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with the energy and defense that Nance and Little have brought.
Right.
I mean, it's nothing to take away from Nurk because I really don't think Nurk had a bad week. I think we saw him play really well considering him. He had the game with the 5 fouls. To me, it was more matchup based through a majority of the week. I mean, with Chicago not having Vucevic and Toronto really playing Siakam at their center position, it gave Nance a chance to shine and take advantage of it, and he absolutely did. Had 2 of his best games of the season. The bigger thing to me was Little over Rocco. Little over Rocco is becoming the thing. Little is out there closing out games. I brought it up when I talked about Chicago, obviously feeling this is going to be one of the last gasps for Rocco on this team. And I think Little's earned the right to – I don't think he'll replace him right off the bat in the starting lineup because I think Rocco's help defense is still going to be a little bit better, but he really hasn't been great this year. And that's, I think, why we're seeing Little come out and close these games out now over Rocco. What are you seeing with that, man? I know we were talking about this, but what are you seeing with the two of them and how that's going to go, forward for Portland?
Yeah, it's point of attack defense. It's being able to move laterally against smaller guys that are smaller than you. I mean, the problem with Rocco is he can play big on Anthony Davis and he can give him fits. But the problem with rotating with Rocco and sometimes with Nurkic too, is they're a little slow on the draw. They're a little bit bigger and slower. And so a lot of times I think we used to think that if he would get on a guard, Rocco would give him problems, and he really wasn't able to do that. I mean, the premier scorers in this league, like Levine, and Rocco looks outmatched at times on the defensive end one-on-one. So he's a great help defender, and he can do a lot of things to help you from that regard, but one-on-one is just not there. Little is taking the challenge on every single night, and Larry Nance has a lot of pride. He doesn't like getting scored on. He doesn't like the Blazers giving up easy stuff, and that's something that the Blazers have done a lot in the past, and he's not been about that life lately. So I do agree with you. I think those two guys are kind of crucial defensively to the stuff we've been doing. I mean, Rocco just hasn't been very good. That's just all there is to it.
No, he's not. He was brought in to be the 3-and-D player that we haven't had for so many years. You trade 2 first-round picks to bring him in here. And he looked good last year. He looked fine. He was one of our best defensive players last year,
Mm-hmm.
rating-wise, and he looked great from the help standpoint. But this year, he just hasn't been in position. And I don't know if it's just learning a new system, where you're supposed to rotate after that initial attack. I'm not really sure, but he's given up a lot of threes. He isn't getting the deflections that he normally gets that he got
Yes.
last year. I
No.
don't know if he's just, I don't want to say it's an age thing, but he just hasn't seemed to really, I don't know, fit into this scheme with the amount of
Mm-hmm.
energy and hustle that I've seen from Little. We talked about, you brought up a good point with other teams' wings really being a weakness, and CJ and Dame are going to continue to be a weakness for us defensively.
Yep.
And Pal's been able to help, but really we've kind of relied on Rocco to help stop that bleeding.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it. I watched Little come in and just, I want to say shut down, but really gave DeRozan
Work
fits into
hard.
that game.
Yep.
I mean, we don't win that game if he doesn't slow DeRozan down after what he did in the beginning of the game in the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, it was absolutely atrocious what he was. There was no defense on him, and then you have Powell trying to slow down Levine, and you can't really take him to go over to DeRozan. So somebody had to step up, and it was Little. And I think, to me, this isn't matchup based, whereas Nance has kind of been a matchup based situation where they haven't really been putting Zeller out there too much, spot minutes here and there, but the teams have been running small, and you put out the athleticism to be able to match that and be a little quicker. Little's not having that problem. He's out playing Rocco right now, and Billups is giving him more minutes in these closing minutes, and close games, mind you, which is a testament to what we're going to see from Little going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time to start considering that we're probably going to trade Rocco by the trade deadline.
Okay. So if we're willing to move Rocco, which I'm totally on board with, what do you think of this Nurk situation? I mean, obviously Zeller leaves something to be that's a big jump. I'm sorry. Like Zeller does some stuff nicely, but he's no Nurkic. Would you feel comfortable moving Nurk with the way Nance has played, or do you think that leaves us open to bigger teams?
I don't want to move Nurk for Nance to get more of an opportunity. I think Nance coming off the bench is still the best role for him because I think he fits really well with Little and Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
And B, I understand we've been using him in some of these closing situations against small teams, but and that's fine. But I don't think it can be sustained. I absolutely don't. I think bigger teams are going to continue to give us fits, and you can't put Nance out there against them. He's not small by any means, but he doesn't have the weight and the size to be able to take some of these bigger bodies the way Nurkic can. It gets interesting come trade deadline time, and we'll talk more about that. The contracts are the only reason I can see Nurk being moved potentially. Rocco's contract plus his play almost guarantees him as a lock to move, especially with as good as Little has been in a similar role and position. Nance plays different than Nurk, and both of those guys give you the ability to come to game in, game out, flex a little bit. Yeah, you can flex a little bit depending on what the other team is doing. You put Nance in there, take away of a smaller team, but Nurk has got to be out there against guys like Drummond. And so, no, I don't think you talk about trading Nurk yet. It's going to get interesting because of the contract, but not because of the way Nance is going. You don't move him to give room to Nance. Zeller's not good enough to start, and he's a fine backup, but you lose way too much size unless you're getting something back or signing a center off the streets. I just don't think you can do it.
Yeah.
And more to that point, we haven't really played against any high caliber centers. It's been an interesting year. We played against Jokic, and we saw what he did. He absolutely dominated us. I won't count Jarrett Allen as a all-star caliber center. He's a good center, but he's not that blows my socks off. And Miles Turner, same way. I mean, Sabonis is an all-star, but he kind of plays more of a power forward role. They both kind of switch. Miles Turner is a three-point big. He's a great defensive stat guy, but again, he's not what I would call an elite caliber all-star center. No. So Ayton was injured. Didn't play Ayton when we played Philly. Embiid twice. First game was rest, and then apparently that wasn't just rest. It was an injury, and he missed the last however many games, and so we haven't had to play him yet. Anthony Davis goes out super early. Only plays like 7 minutes in that game. Doesn't play against us with the Lakers. And then obviously in Chicago, we don't have to deal with Vucevic, an all-star center who had COVID. So it's great that we're seeing Nance play so successfully, but we haven't really seen the need to have Nurk out there yet. Outside of some of these games against Allen and Jokic, where Nurk didn't really look impressive to me on the defensive end, but you have to have him out there for those kinds of guys. We haven't seen, a situation where Nurk's had to battle against top caliber centers. We're going to see Jokic upcoming here pretty quick. And there's going to be some games where you are going to run into that. Anthony Davis has been playing fine for the Lakers, and the list goes on for some of these other caliber centers, high caliber centers we're going to see.
Yeah.
But,
I think I agree with you.
Worries me.
I mean, I agree with you. I think Nurkic playing 23 to 25 minutes is a really nice thing. I think he can be aggressive. He can draw 4 or 5 fouls, and you don't have to worry about him because we talked about in the offseason and a lot last year, this team, when Nurkic is not out there, was god awful at times. And there was really nothing you could count on down low from this team because Cantor and Melo were just, they were getting exploited on the defensive end. Larry's not that way. You can put Larry in there, and he's not going to get absolutely dominated. Now, I do think that Embiid would give him problems. I think Jokic is going to feast
Has,
on Larry.
will.
It has and will. Yes, absolutely. There's going to be size limitations to that, but at least you feel a little more comfortable in the non-Nurkic minutes that you can
Oh,
sustain and live.
100%.
And that's great. I don't see why you would. I mean, if you want to move Nurkic, fine, because you feel like you can get a better player. But right now, Nurkic is totally plugged in. He's totally switched on, and an engaged Nurkic is really good. He's a good player, and like I said, he can get a double-double in 20 minutes and give you some pretty good defensive looks. I mean, he was hustling his butt off this week, so we got to shout that out, right?
He's been one of our best defensive players all year, realistically, as far as
Yeah.
the stats go and his rating goes. I mean, again, I haven't seen that game from Nurk against the competition that I want to see him do good in. I want to see him come out and be able to slow Jokic down a little bit, not give up a triple-double in the first
He's
half.
been
I know he didn't,
solid.
but it's close enough.
Mm-hmm.
So like, Vucevic to me was going to be a great kind of
Test
barometer for me. Yeah, I want to be able to come in here and see how he was going to do because Vucevic in the past has kind of made Nurk look silly too. He's more of a post-up player, and that was the kind of situation where I'd like to see more Nurk.
I get that.
But either way, it's just kind of interesting to me that we haven't really played the high caliber centers. Haven't been playing against Portland outside of Jokic. He's the only one out of the guys that I've listed in some of those teams that are known to have a lot of money and talent in their center position.
Yep.
So that's it. That's all I got on the players and the team as far as this week goes. We do have some other news, and then I have one thing I want to ask you as well.
Okay.
You want to break down the news for everybody in regards to the Neal investigation, kind of where that's going?
We still have not a lot of concrete information. We're just going off of the things that Jason Quick and Fentress and all these guys keep saying. Basically, Jason Quick came out and kind of changed the tune a little bit around the narrative, which is maybe Neal will keep his job. And then there was some stuff from Woj about like other GMs are kind of nervous that this is like a headhunting situation where they're trying to set him up to get out of a contract. I do sort of understand that concern, but that's the same situation we all go to work with every single day. Like any of us could be fired for our behavior. So I don't quite understand the whole contract situation there. So I'm not sure, but it does sound like Neal might keep this job. That's really actually not cool to me. I don't think he's been a very good GM. I mean, you look at OG Anunoby this week, and we wasted 2 picks in that draft before he even went off the board. And Caleb Swanigan and Zach Collins aren't even on this team anymore. Like Neal is just a brutal GM. I don't even care about his behavior. But that's what happened this week, and it sounds like he's probably going to retain his job now.
Yeah, it's leaning more towards, well, he's mean and he's a jerk, but as far as everything else goes, and as far as like a hostile work environment, I mean, I think people are looking more for manipulation, maybe blackmailing, threatening people, that kind of stuff, and it doesn't sound like that's been coming out right.
And none of that is. They didn't find any. I think they were looking for something like that, and it just didn't occur.
Agreed. And I don't know about the reports talking about him coming out and saying, "Oh, well, we're trying to get rid of him for basketball reasons, and this has been our excuse." And I don't know if I buy that. I think to me that's people just kind of trying to come out and say they're not happy with the way he's been GMing, which is fair. I mean, we can dive all day into the goods and bads of Neal Olshey, with the bads probably outweighing everything.
Probably.
But as far as this particular investigation goes, I think it's kind of finally starting to die down. We don't have anything concrete as far as a conclusion goes. Except that he's a jerk, apparently.
Yeah, we kind of knew that.
So that's that. And then the other thing I'm interested to see your take on, and this has been one of the big ones for me. How are you liking these jerseys, bud?
Oh, dude, they're beautiful. I love them. I don't understand why people wouldn't. I love respecting the past. I love anything that I can do retro. I think we're 3-0 in the jersey. Do we wear them for the 6 games? Yeah.
We are 3-0 in the jersey.
3-0. So why would the players not sleep in them every single night? They're beautiful. I don't understand like some of the weird references from like the 70s and stuff, like the circle on the shorts and stuff. Okay, that's fine, whatever. Brooke Olsendam can tell me about that because she's super smart. And I'm not, and I wasn't alive in the 70s, so I don't know what that's a tip of the hat to. But I love them, dude. Don't you?
No.
What?
I'm not a fan.
We're
Um,
3-0.
I don't care about the score. I'm sorry. I don't mind the Rip City and the number
Come
being the
on.
weird block letter thing that they got with the 3D
It's
looking
retro.
letter. I hate the plaid. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like the red plaid thing going down the side. I don't.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I don't know, man. I felt like they could have done more. The plaid I
Ooh,
hate,
okay.
and the Rip City's cool. Like it's fine. I'm a big fan of the Rip City on the
I feel like they
jersey.
need. I'm pulling jerseys up right now. Hold on.
City editions. Listen, it took me a while to get into the whole copycat Spurs uniforms with the black and white gray thing that we had last year, right? I mean, I've worn
Okay.
that jersey a couple times. The cream ones are my favorite ones so far, still to this day. The cream jerseys were my favorite. I didn't care for the weird brown, whatever. The brown jersey with the weird orange and blue. I understand it's supposed to represent the whole state of Oregon, and that's fine and dandy. The saying Oregon was cool. That I dug, but I didn't
Okay.
like Brown. I don't know what's going on with Brown. That was a terrible choice. But these ones are I'm not it's not that I should rephrase. It's not that I don't like the jerseys.
Okay.
I don't like them. Like I'm partial. Like I just don't think they did enough. You need to zoom that
Sorry.
in first off. I
I
can't
know.
find
I'm
anything in that tiny
trying, man.
little
So
zoom.
it's a little blurry because I can't find like a really good high def picture. I should have prepped this.
See,
I didn't know we were gonna do this, but okay. So
and the
I
red
like.
coming on the arms, like I don't
Okay,
know.
I like that part. The part I don't really care for is how like the lettering and numbering is sometimes different in the fonts. And again, I don't really care about the circle on the shorts, but the color schematic, I think it's brilliant. I love it.
The plaid on the side, which you didn't choose a picture that had the plaid. Of course you didn't, but
Larry,
the plaid,
Larry,
the
Larry.
plaid on the side was very disappointing. I don't like it.
Mm, that's too bad, man.
Will I buy one of these jerseys? Maybe,
You're
but
depressed. I'm sorry you're depressed.
depressed. Nah, sorry. Hey, I'm glad the team is 3-0, and I mean, if they win
Yeah,
every game, if they wear those jerseys, then
they should
I
win.
will buy one. Like I'll buy one. I promise. If we win, in fact, here we go. I'm
Oh,
announcing right now because I'm not worried about it. If we win every single game this year that we wear those jerseys in, I will buy a jersey and give it to a fan in a giveaway. Done
bookmark
deal.
this episode. Bookmark this
Done.
episode, folks.
Yeah.
Hold this man accountable.
Save it. We're not. Absolutely not. Somebody's gonna look at those and be like, "You guys look terrible," and they're gonna
Oh,
beat us. And they're
they're
gonna get in our heads.
beautiful.
So that's it. The jerseys were, unveiled this week in the
Mhm.
whole throwback thing with all these moments in the team's history, and that's cool. That's
I
pretty
love
neato.
them.
But yeah, not my favorite jerseys. The Rip City's cool. Like I like the
Yeah.
block letter for the Rip City. I think the plaid throws me off. I think that's the biggest deal to
Okay.
me.
I get that. Okay, real quick, while we're doing this, I would like to pull up this week's schedule and just kind of go through what we're going to look at.
Quick
So
little touch up.
let's just, I like doing that and I like kind of thinking through some of these games and what we're going to see. So this week we are going to play the Denver Nuggets. I hate playing the Nuggets. I'm so tired of playing them. I think it just goes back to playoffs situations. Then we play the Kings and we will play the Warriors before you and I meet next week. Oh, after Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes, after Thanksgiving, I know that's going to be it's going to be a fun one to
This
recap. So we got 3 games upcoming on this
three
slate.
big games.
Kings, we need a revenge game there. They are not better than us. I'm sorry.
They just fired
Harrison
McCall
Barnes.
today. They just fired him. It's going to be a
Yeah,
disaster.
you would think this should have been a disaster way before today. So, all right, Kings, who knows? Harrison Barnes ain't getting 8 threes on us again. Not worried about
No.
it. Nuggets.
Yes, scary.
mm,
Yes, scary.
Jokic has been injured. He hasn't been playing the last couple of weeks for them, and they're obviously down Michael Porter. They're still down. Obviously, they don't have Jamal Murray with his injury, but they're down a couple guys. But they're just one of those teams. Like I don't know. We were so disappointed after last time we played them. I mean, coaching came out and called us out on it.
Yeah.
They weren't happy with the players' level of competition for a team that just beat you in playoffs and knocked you out. So we'll see. Jokic
And the Dubs.
will magically come back and just get a quadruple double because that's just what he does against us. And
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to playing the Warriors. They've completely been reborn.
Dude, they've been lighting people up.
Yep, Poole looks amazing. Draymond's been playing at a high level now that he's back from injury completely, and obviously Curry's Curry. I mean, that's just what he is. So that'll be an interesting week. I mean, if you can take Denver, I'm feeling good about going at least 2-1. I
That'd be
feel
okay.
like take the Kings out. The Warriors will. I thought we would get smashed by the Bulls too. I'll be honest with you.
Yep.
But the Warriors always tend to have our number because we can't our guards just aren't good enough to slow down Curry at all. So we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting, right? I think I just want us to play tough, play hard. I mean, you could probably be 2-1 this week. I just want to see us play tough. Like this week, we fought every one of these teams, and we came out and we just never gave up. And in the third quarter, you showed a lot of heart. That was the thing that was missing for most of the season. It looked like the Blazers didn't really care. They were just really lackadaisical on both ends at times. So this week, just go out and fight, and then just eat a lot of turkey. I mean, just get really fat, super fat.
Carbo load. Carbo load on potatoes. Yeah, it's going to be fun. And just another small announcement. Next week, we should have Brandon Goldner. If you guys are aware who he is, he should be on the show with us. So looking forward to that.
Yep.
As I touched on the beginning of the episode, make sure you like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Follow us on the socials, really just Twitter and Instagram. And comment on this video. One more reminder, comment your favorite Trailblazers moment. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if it's a big shot, if it's just a fight that you've seen. It doesn't really make a difference to me. Whatever you're stoked for. Maybe you want a t-shirt at a live game. I don't know. I don't care. This guy here won $250 for hitting a blindfolded free throw on his first attempt. Never forget. When that video comes up, I'm copying it or putting it on the pod, and it's going to come up eventually.
Oh, shoot.
But yeah, seriously, guys, comment your favorite thing. We want to give you Boston Celtics tickets. We have them. They are there. Sitting on my phone in the old Ticketmaster, easy transfer. So subscribe, all that fun stuff. Like the video, and we will see you guys next week after eating too much food.
Yep. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we will see you next Monday morning. Peace.